that small? Is that a fact?
That's nothing. Nowadays, in the hospitals, they make them so small, they can stick them right up.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to episode 56 of the Columbo podcast, where we are fortunately not quite small enough to be stuck right up
Thank you, Gerry. That's enough. In the ears, stuck in the ears.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Good evening, Ian.
Good evening.
Return to form this week, do you think?
Much better.
Yep, I agree. Enjoyable episode.
Very enjoyable and a welcome familiar face.
We'll get to that in due course, but yes, I agree. Very welcome. It was a more structured episode in comparison to last week's, which was Murder in Malibu, for those who haven't been following in sequence. Yeah, so with the bad guys, obvious motive, decent clues, good problem solving, good investigation by Columbo himself, no leaps and there's no magic. A little bit of luck.
Sure.
But the formula was intact, it was in place.
We've reached season 10, so we've been promising for a number of weeks to recap the structure of our podcast, or how it works. So before we get into the structure of the episode too far, let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
So this is the Columbo podcast. We're on episode 56, as you will have heard. We've been doing this for about over a year now, and the way it works is Gerry, the world's foremost Columbo expert,
I'm not.
leads me. I'm Ian. I've never watched Columbo before, apart from for this podcast. I've seen each episode fresh each week. So hopefully we can bring you, the listeners, a couple of different perspectives on each episode as we go through the series. We've not got long to go. I would say 14 more episodes, including this one.
There or thereabouts.
Roughly 14.
Approximately.
We were thinking of doing a question and answer show, so maybe worth getting folk to start thinking about questions.
Yeah, we've had a few questions about the podcast, about ourselves.
Even about Columbo as well, or our thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have any, put them in a stamped addressed envelope,
Mm-hmm.
then send it to us at Columbo Towers, and we will get back to you in due course.
Yeah, we'll ponder the questions. If there are enough questions that would warrant perhaps a shorter show, and we can answer a few queries, then we might go about doing that. More
realistic ways of actually getting those queries to us: Twitter, Facebook, on columbopodcast.com, via iTunes reviews. Those are the best ways. If you put a question to us via an iTunes review, we'll give it a priority.
Of course.
As long as there's 5 stars alongside it.
without a doubt. Okay, thanks for that recap of the raison d'etre for the Columbo podcast. How do we normally begin the episode?
Well, usually I provide a short summary.
Carry on then.
In Columbo Goes to College, we meet Jordan Rowe and Cooper Redman, students at Fremont College in California. When the pair are discovered cheating on an exam, their lecturer, Professor D.E. Rusk, determines to either flunk them on his class or have them turfed out of the university altogether. With both boys likely to suffer significantly at the hands of their fathers if this occurs, they resort to murder. Rusk has many potential enemies, but with Columbo on the scene immediately, is it possible that the boys can escape justice, or will they be graduating to a different institution?
Thank you for that very educated summary. So, to continue from what I was saying before you gave us the summary, classic Columbo traits we have here in terms of the programme.
Yeah, I mean, right from the off, it's better than the previous bunch because it doesn't have a Tonight on Columbo.
Good point. We have some very obnoxious killers, don't we?
We do, and we like that.
We do.
Well, you say some very obnoxious. One was much more obnoxious than the other.
I just consider them to be a pair. I don't really differentiate that much.
Okay.
Most of my notes are the guys.
Okay.
I mean, they do have differences, and I think you believe that one sort of fades, one becomes more prominent than the other.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. But in my mind, they're just a couple of brats.
Fair enough.
But it's great. They have that fantastic characteristic of thinking they are far more intelligent, far smarter than Columbo. They totally, from the get-go, they underestimate him.
Completely. And they overestimate themselves.
They do.
Grossly.
So we start, and I'm immediately uplifted by the great little rock track that plays.
Punchy tune, isn't it?
Very punchy.
I believe it's the fun-loving criminals.
It's not. I was going to leave it till the end, but as you mention it now, the opening track was written by Burt Bacharach and performed by the Californian rock band Ambrosia, who were formed in 1970 and are still going strong.
There you go. So buy tickets now.
Go see them, yeah. So yeah, we have this aerial shot of, it looks like Malibu.
And we get, for I think the first time, an establishing caption on the screen.
Which is,
Fremont College.
yep, again another piece of trivia I was going to leave until the end, but as you have brought it up, there's no such place as Fremont College. But there is a Fremont College, so F-R-E, no double E.
Okay.
In
Where's that?
Malibu.
Convenient.
But that was not where this episode was filmed.
Where was this episode filmed?
Apparently it was filmed in Pepperdine University in Malibu. And it was also the filming location for Zoe 101, which I understand was quite popular on the day in Nickelodeon, kids show.
Right, not one I'm familiar with.
Nope. But you may be aware of Battle of the Network Stars.
Nope.
Yeah, you are.
Nah, I don't think so. Unless that's that thing where they make them run.
Yeah. I know for a fact you are aware of it because I made you watch it on YouTube.
Actually, I think one of our show note links a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, short shin syndrome.
Yeah, for
tiny shin syndrome.
Yes. That was a fake disease.
That was for Ron
C. Yeah.
Ron C, yeah. Yeah, you watched the episode I showed you with Robert Conrad.
That's right.
He was involved and took it very seriously.
He very much did.
So, yeah, that's the programme.
Okay.
Celebrity Sporting Contest.
Deathmatch.
That was filmed there. Let's get down to this episode, Ian.
Okay.
We start in a frat house, is that what they call it?
Well, we've got a student driving along in his pickup.
Yeah.
He seems to be like the sort of BMOC, he's waving at folk. And
High-fiving people. It's like Teen Wolf or Michael J. Fox,
as if
isn't
he's the college quarterback or something.
Yeah, everyone knows who he is, everyone loves him, and he's giving it all that too.
He's okay.
Yeah. So a frat house, is that what you would call it?
Yeah, I would say it's a frat house at there. I didn't note the name of the fraternity though.
Yeah. This is Cooper Redman.
Coop. Folk call him Coop.
One of the guys. I've noted here he arrives in a Back to the Future style 4x4.
Fair enough.
And as we mentioned, he's greeted and high-fived along the way to his dorm room, where he follows a remote control car with a camera placed on it, where it leads into his roommate, Justin Rowe's room.
Okay, not Justin Rose the golfer.
Not Justin Rose the golfer, Justin Rowe's dorm room. I think they share a dorm room.
Yeah,
Who is watching him on a TV set. So he's got this camera on the remote control car watching this being broadcast to the TV.
There's a brief exchange, he seems to have got something, but it's not clear at that point what.
So this also establishes that they have some modicum of technical knowledge or ability to be broadcasting this on from the camera to the TV.
I mean, my first assumption was it might be a plagiarised essay, actually.
Sure. But did you assume it was some sort of cheating?
Yes, I assumed it was cheating,
Yeah,
but I didn't realise they were both involved. I thought he'd done it for him.
Okay. We jump next to the beach, and Coop's furious dad storms over to him as he waxes his surfboard.
Yeah, Trish Muir's father is threatening to sue.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do that, really, can you?
Threaten to sue? Yes,
Yeah,
you can.
Yeah, you can threaten to sue, yeah. I'm not sure how much weight it would have, but apparently he's got a third girl pregnant in 18 months that required an abortion. I thought that was quite dark.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, had it been part of the whole, you know, the main Columbo, you know, storyline, it'd have been different. But just to sort of throw that in as an aside, it's like, okay, this guy's he's basically forced 3 girls to have abortions in 18 months.
Well, no, he says that Trish decided to do it by herself.
Yeah, true.
And you assume that they're all students, so it could well be they've all made the decision themselves, but still, he's at college, he should be smart enough to take precautions.
In any case, he is warned by his dad that any more screw-ups and he is finished. So we don't really know what that means, but we think what it means is he's going to lose the family inheritance, or he's out the family.
I think he's not going to be supported anymore.
Did you recognise the father?
No.
We've seen him twice before.
Have we?
Yep, Alan Fudge played Mr. Redman. This is his third of 3. He was also in Publisher Perish for the first time, and then he played the CIA man in Columbo Goes to the Guillotine.
Right, okay, at the house.
The house?
Was it the house?
No, in the Institute.
Let me think. Oh, of
Mr.
course.
Harrow.
Yes. The one that... And he was at the airfield.
Yes.
Yes, I'm with you.
So that's who that is.
I was thinking about FBI Man for a different episode.
Sure. From the beach, we head over to the lecture hall in Fremont College, and we see a Professor Rusk inform some students that Lieutenant Columbo will be the guest lecturer in their criminology class this term. And as the lecture ends and the students depart, Rusk demands to see Justin and Coop in his office. So we've not really discussed Justin yet.
Well, no, he's barely been in the episode.
Yeah, so who is he?
Well, he is a friend of Cooper Redman. Mm-hmm. They're both students in this criminology class at the college, and he hopes to go to Harvard Law School.
Correct. So we go to Rusk's office.
Yes, and Rusk doesn't mince his words.
You blew it, boys.
Excuse me?
Don't toy with me, Justin. Not you, of all people. I know about the test. That you took the test. Stole the test.
What?
Not a word. You hear me? Not one more word. Two of you are an absolute disgrace. All the privilege, all the potential, all the smarts. And what do you do with it? You waste it, squander it, drag it under your feet. You know, you guys don't deserve what you have. You probably never did. And you don't have any respect for anyone. Let me tell you something else. I don't trust myself to make a proper decision right now as to what action I'm going to take, but I'll tell you this much. When I'm ready to make a decision, it'll either be to flunk the two of you, or go to the dean and ask him to throw you out of this university. You got it.
Obviously, that would be another screw-up on Cooper's record. And
Without
he'd
a
be
doubt.
Out.
Mm-hmm. I was impressed by Rusk's performance there. I thought it was
He was very angry and unreasonable.
Rusk was unreasonable.
Yeah.
Why?
First offence, you can't get too upset with him about that.
I don't think it is a first offence, is it?
Well, we don't know.
Well, we do know that these guys have screwed up in the past.
Certainly Cooper has.
Yeah. Professor Rusk was played by James Sartorius, born in 1944. He has been in Cruising, The X-Files, Murder, She Wrote, Matlock, Tour of Duty, Dynasty, and The Andros Targets. A good character actor.
Prolific.
So they follow Rusk to the underground garage, garage parking lot.
Yes.
And they try to get him to change his mind with no success.
Yeah, and he leaves in his car and they jump into their car, which is also in the same car park.
Yes, they've got this 4x4, which is parked in a fairly empty car park, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems to be privileged parking anyway.
Mm-hmm. They get the security guard, Joe, to raise the gate for them, and we discover that it's a staff car park.
Yeah.
But they are giving Joe tickets for Lakers games, courtside tickets.
Or at least they've promised him them. They don't seem to have come up with the goods.
Not as yet.
No.
So he's allowing them to use the facility. They follow Rusk to a restaurant.
Well, I think at first they weren't really following him, they were just going the same way. But then when he turned away from his house at the junction, they followed him that way.
Mm-hmm. And they wonder if he is off to see the wife of Coach Clark.
Certainly seems to be a rumour going around the campus about that.
And they follow him inside the restaurant, and they see this Coach Clark's wife and Rusk argue before she storms out.
Yeah, it's clear that Rusk is telling her something she doesn't want to hear.
We're back to the frat house.
Yep, the two of them are kind of talking it through.
They realise that they are in a predicament.
But Roe has some additional information.
Which is?
He's been listening in on his father's calls. We later find out his father is the legal counsel for the university, so he gets to know about any trouble. So Justin's been listening in on the call, reading his mail, all sorts of really bad behaviour, just quite frankly despicable. But he knows that Rusk has named names in his upcoming book and has made enemies of dangerous people.
What did that remind you of?
Well, I was thinking back all the way about 55 episodes ago to Murder by the Book, because that's the exact thing that Jim Ferris was accused of having done.
Yep. Must have been a deliberate nod, I think, to that.
Oh, let's just assume so and hope it wasn't a bizarre forgetting of the major plot of their big episode.
But not only is this offered as a potential threat to Rusk, they also note that June Clark, the relationship with June Clark in itself, throws up other possible or likely.
Yeah, they've got a problem here because they're casting their net too wide.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, well, there could be death threats from the book, but maybe June Clark wants to kill him, and maybe her husband wants to kill him, and if there's so many folk that want to kill him, then if we kill him, they'll never know who it was.
In any case, they agree that they have no option.
Well, they've lost all sense of proportion and decided they have so little to lose that killing someone can't possibly make their lives worse.
Yeah, it's one of these things that, in their mind, it's a big deal, but if you compare most of the Columbo, the motives of the Columbo killers, they're understandable.
Yeah, but I think it fits because they are quite self-obsessed people. They're only interested in having a good time and doing what they want.
Yeah. And kids, effectively,
yeah,
who believe that if they get kicked out of university or whatever, their life is over, and it's not that big a deal. But to them, you can understand why it might be.
So any kids listening, if you fail all your exams or if you get kicked out of university, life goes on. You can bounce back.
Yep.
Don't take drugs.
Or necessarily murder people.
And don't murder people, that was the other thing.
Yeah. Well, think about it first. Don't be rash, that's what I would suggest.
Yes, don't leap into action when...
It may be the correct action to take, but not necessarily.
Yeah, only in very limited circumstances, and we're not encouraging it today.
No, we're not encouraging
Mostly.
it. Generally.
Yeah, on a sort of broad principle.
We say kids, but looking at both of these two and also the other students, they...
In their mid-30s, aren't they?
Yeah, it's the Beverly Hills 90210 syndrome, isn't it? They're not, they don't look like people who I, went to uni with.
No, but then folk of uni age probably play high school students at that point.
True. We're back at Fremont College.
There seems to be, quite a lot of fast forwarding between scenes here. We jump around with the same characters. Mm-hmm. And we have done for the whole episode up to this point.
Yeah. So the setup we have here is that Joe Doyle is a security chap, and he has a station in a hall somewhere above, and he can view CCTV footage of cameras in the parking lot, the garage. And he's looking through these cameras and notices Coop and Justin arrive, and they flash the tickets for the LA Lakers game at him.
It's just Cooper that's in the car.
Yes, you're right. That's important.
Yes.
Joe's delighted to see these tickets being offered, and he pops down to get them.
That was chancy, I think.
Yeah.
He could have said, come on up.
Sure. I'm assuming that's what he would do.
Yeah.
Because they'd got to go up anyway.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? I mean, this is, I have to say, an incredibly chancy episode. It's not bad chancy, but just chancy.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first real moment of chanciness.
Absolutely. Anyway, he disappears down to the car park, and Justin appears from a doorway or another corridor and steals his keys out his desk and disappears off with them.
He does. Now, this is a bit it's nonsense. You next see him copying the keys himself.
Yeah.
Really? This is a guy who's studying law. This isn't a metal shop, college or whatever. How would he know where and how to... Copying keys isn't something that you just do.
Yeah, and not only that, he obviously doesn't want to have been seen as copying keys, but there's plenty of other things that they don't go to any great lengths to mask. And yet this one he goes and learns how to cut a key and cuts the key.
Yeah. So we'll forgive that nonsense, I think.
Yeah.
We next see them enter Joe's house.
Well, we never see them return the keys.
And it must be that night. Must go back, because how does he get home? In any case, they have the key they stole was for Joe's not too salubrious 1-bedroom apartment in a complex somewhere. And there's a couple of things about this. So they break in at night, and they firstly note a picture of Joe and his brother. But the picture's signed like an autograph of a superstar. It's not like you wouldn't sign your own picture to your brother as if... Did you see that?
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, you've got a brother. Do you, if you had a picture of your family, would you have a picture of your family signed?
Well, I will now.
Yeah, you should do that just for a laugh.
Did we not have that before? Was there not in an early episode a woman who had her husband's photo or a husband and his wife's photo signed?
There have been a few.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but yeah, we have. I do remember discussing it. So, while they're here, what they do is they steal a gun, which we see them working on a little bit later in their own home, I think. So, we're assuming here, how did they know that this gun was there? They must be quite friendly with Joe, and he's mentioned that he's got a gun in the house.
They assumed he had a gun.
Yeah, I think they'd have to have known. To make the assumption...
Possibly, yeah.
It's a big leap. And we're back to the car park.
Yeah, it appears that they are working on some kind of automated mechanism before that, and then we see Columbo pulling up.
The car looks in terrible shape in this episode.
Needing a bit of a service.
A little bit of attention, I think. And via the CCTV, Joe tells Columbo that it is faculty parking only. So there's this sort of semi-trope of him not being recognised for what he is.
Yeah, I noticed it's only a slight version of the trope, because he does get in, and then for some reason drives into the wall.
Yep.
There's no reason for him to drive into the wall there.
He's a careless driver. The brakes don't work properly.
Anyway, yeah, that's that entire scene. Columbo's introduction.
We're back in Rusk's office.
Yes, and Justin's coming in to speak to him again.
Yeah, he says he has spoken with his dad, obviously this influential chap we mentioned, who wants to meet Rusk at a local cafe, bistro type place at 8 p.m.
Now, if you were Rusk, would this not seem odd to you?
Yeah, firstly, why would Roe or his secretary not pick up the phone and make an appointment? Why would you send your son to do it?
Yeah, and why would he arrange it during the only time he has class?
Exactly. That night, that very evening.
It makes no sense.
No.
I don't know why Rusk doesn't think, no, I'm not having this. I'll phone him. I'll speak to him on the phone.
Mm-hmm. Rusk makes the point that it's during this class where Columbo is a guest lecturer.
He won't commit to it.
No. Justin says, but you can leave and be back during the lecture itself.
He still won't commit to it.
He's non-committal. As he leaves, Justin says he is sorry. I thought that was a nice touch. Because I think it's not just about what he's done.
It's what he's going to do.
Yeah. So we're in the lecture hall. Columbo is talking about police procedure. He's answering some questions, and what does he reference?
He talks about the gum that he took in Agenda for Murder that we've already rubbished in that particular podcast.
Yep. Rusk is sitting at the back. He's looking at his watch, and we can see the guys looking at him.
Yeah. There's a nice line by Columbo in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
He's asked by the class if he'd ever falsify evidence or do anything untoward to catch a crook. And we know he's done that in the past. We've seen him do it as far back as Dagger, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He says something that rings true if you've been watching the episodes. He says, "When I get the scent, there's very little that I wouldn't do in order to solve the case."
Very true. Very true. Eventually, Rusk gets up and he heads downstairs. Now, Joe is more interested in the basketball as Rusk heads to his car. And we see Cooper and Justin pull out a screen in the lecture hall and a key fob as they remain seated.
Yeah.
And then we see Rusk stand at his car door about to open it.
We do.
And what happens?
He is shot in the head.
He falls and there's a blood splatter all over the windscreen.
Yeah. And next thing, the class are applauding.
Yes.
It's a nice little, I thought, that juxtaposition there.
Sure. So Columbo and the group of students leave the lecture hall and walk down to the car park, only to discover the body.
Yeah, Rusk's there, but he's all shot and stuff.
Yeah, he is. I think this is the first time Columbo has discovered the body.
Well, that we've heard about, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Justin leaves in his truck to go and get help. Whilst
Yeah,
Columbo...
I thought it was Cooper's truck.
Yeah, so maybe they both drive it.
Maybe. Anyway, Justin jumps in it and Columbo makes a mental note that he didn't unlock it to get in, because that's important.
Yeah. Also, I noted that this time he didn't have to get Joe to let him out.
Yeah, he just flew out.
Yeah, the first time he says, "Come on," remember when they're following Rusk the first time? Because Joe was saying, you've not got those tickets yet.
Yeah.
Come on, hurry up.
It's strange, the whole thing doesn't seem to work.
Yeah.
And the other thing that just seems odd to me is a car unlocking mechanism that works from that far away.
And also, we can talk about it, but the CCTV that they've got in place, it's not how it would have operated. You know, this one tape that only records for an hour they never work like that. Just 1 hour, and you have to record it, each hour?
Yeah, store that hour. Where are you storing the hour?
Yeah, you only have 1 hour tapes. Even in 1990, you had more than 1 hour tape. You wouldn't have used a 1 hour tape.
Well, I think you had 1 hour tapes.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have used that for that purpose.
Yeah.
You know, you're reusing the tape anyway.
I suppose.
But yeah, you had to manually record that previous. Nah, it's not how it worked. Anyhow, Justin leaves in the car, and in the truck, and then he stops and he rushes to Joe's station and tells him what's happened. So Joe himself departs for downstairs, but allows Justin to make the recording of the tape.
Yes.
Or on the tape of the
CCTV footage, innit?
Yeah.
Conveniently, we find out he only records from one of 3 cameras.
Yeah. Now this is a second majorly chancy plot point here.
Well, there's 2, but you go with your one.
Well, there is 2. I was going to... Are you talking about the shot itself? No.
To an extent.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's... Because we haven't yet discovered how the shot
No,
was fired.
that's not what I was going to talk about, no. What I was going to talk about is how could they know Joe would be sitting watching the basketball and not notice the camera that did have the footage of the shooting?
Yes, and how could they be sure that Joe would run away immediately and allow him to make the recording, rather than saying, there's been a murder, what's my job?
I'm going to record this. I'm going to record this.
Yeah, there's no way that you could assume that.
No, it's crazy.
So what does Justin do anyway with these tapes?
Well, like I say, he records the one that doesn't give the shooter.
Mm-hmm. And he deletes
the other, or lets others record over.
Mm-hmm. So we're back in the garage, and Columbo talks to the medical officer, George, who we've met before.
Yes, he was in Uneasy Lies the Crowd.
Yes. He shows him the bullet that they found, and Columbo wonders where Rusk was going.
Yeah, he ponders this a couple of times in this scene.
And it's a reasonable point to ponder. This was his class you were talking
why was
about.
he leaving?
Yeah. Was it that bad? Columbo then notes the cameras, and he speaks to another cop. They rule out robbery, they find cash and things like that on him, and Columbo looks at a single pill that was found in the shirt pocket.
It's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm. Up on the street, Columbo is shown the bullet shell, and they wonder why it's up there. How did it get from, if it is the same shell that was used to fire the bullet?
Yeah, and I think that could help Columbo work out what happened. Quite probably, I think it's very clear what would have happened at that point.
He is then told that they have a recording on tape, and the students, as he leaves, invite him to the local bar if he finishes his work later.
That seems really weird to me.
An odd thing to say.
Our professor said, let's go to the pub.
Yeah, and do you want to come along? You won't be busy tonight, what with this murder and that. I'm sure you'll wrap it up in an hour.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Or I thought it was like some sort of immediate wake.
Sure.
Instant wake, everybody, at the pub.
Columbo heads up to Rusk's office, and he notices a briefcase, his briefcase.
Yep. He finds out from a janitor, I think, that Rusk would never have left without it.
No. He tells him that Rusk always took his briefcase home, and that he locks up around 9:30. So Rusk would be expected back by
then. Yeah, and he couldn't have been going far for wherever he was going.
Columbo then discovers what the pill that was found was for.
Yeah, cholesterol.
He has one, or he takes the same type of pill, which works.
Which suggests he was going somewhere to eat.
Columbo then gets a uniformed cop to find a list, or to make a list of nearby restaurants where Rusk might be eating.
The cop thinks he's up to the job. I'll have it for you in 10 minutes.
Very efficient. They go back down to Joe's security station, and he admits to the bribe with regards to the parking and the Lakers tickets.
Yeah, they're watching the video of the shooting. So Columbo's pondering why is Cooper's truck there when it's all staff. And they notice something unusual about the video.
Yes, no one was seen leaving
in any direction. And the video would seem to cover all the exits.
Columbo then receives his restaurant list, and we have a short montage of him going to different restaurants. What does he discover?
One of the maitre d's, I assume.
Columbo loves the programme loves a maitre d'.
It really does.
Yeah.
Front of house, that's where the glamour is. One of them has a message from Rusk for a Mr. Rowe saying he was running late and he'd be there soon.
But
there was no booking for a Mr. Rowe, and there was no Mr. Rowe present at that point.
Immediately Columbo must be, his antennae must be flickering.
My note is that message blows the case wide open. He's got it solved.
Just about.
Or he will do momentarily. But, that's not something that Justin and Cooper could have predicted. They didn't know that Rusk was going to phone ahead. So in a sense, you talk about things being chancy. That was chancy, and it backfired.
Yeah, I never understood why Rusk waited until 10 past. I would have assumed that it's an odd request, but you either decide pretty quickly, will I go or won't I go? If it's 10 past, and remember, Mr. Rowe is a very powerful. We meet him later. He's not the type of guy who you would leave sitting around.
No, my feeling is he decided not to go, and then bottled it at the last minute and thought, I better go and see this guy.
Yeah, that's why I made the phone call. Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Mr. Rowe. I'll be right along.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. We head back, or Columbo heads back to the bar, the
Obviously,
Wake bar.
obviously he's going to follow up on this lead.
Yeah. And he explains to them, or talks to them, about the mystery regarding the camera angles and the tape.
Yep.
Columbo then asks about Rusk himself, and he gets a mixed response and discovers something interesting.
So tell me about the professor. What was he like? Was he a good teacher?
Oh, Lieutenant, he was very good. Very good.
He was one of the best teachers on campus, right?
He was good, it's true. But he was also very opinionated. Everything had to be done his way. But he was good.
He was real. I think most of all, that's what he was. He was just real.
And he fooled around a lot.
That is not fair.
Sarah, it's true. I mean, he fooled around, trust me.
Yeah, well, even so, it's pretty poor form to trash the reputation of the newly dead.
Excuse me. The man fooled around, and everybody knew it.
Jess, whether he did, whether he didn't, I think we should drop it. Sachs is right. The body's not even cold yet.
Lieutenant, any campus is bound to be something of a rumor mill. Deciding which ones to believe or which ones not to believe is probably going to be your biggest problem.
I'm beginning to see that.
Well, you've certainly come to the right place, Lieutenant. Mr. Rowe here always seems to hear more rumors than anyone else.
Mr.
Rowe. Justin Rowe. Gossip is his middle name.
Might as well just arrest him now.
Solved.
I think it's pretty obvious. And what's hilarious is that Rowe has no idea that Columbo has fingered him.
So to speak. We return to the college and we see the dean make a statement to the gathered press.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of Columbo Cries Wolf. And I think it shows, both of these episodes show the changing media landscape compared to the 70s when the police were left to do their work.
Sure.
And now, in the 90s, it's a bit more of interest. I think if they did it nowadays, you would find the 24-hour news channels had a guy dedicated to following the case, chasing him everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Within the frat house, we see the male students take quite a lot of delight and pleasure in watching the news report discussing Rusk's personal life and affairs.
Indeed.
So where do we go from there?
The Clark family home.
Yeah, he's off to see June Clark, the alleged adulterer.
Yeah, and for no apparent reason she lies to him.
Yeah, I mean, she's under siege from reporters, and Columbo has some questions. What is it she lies about at first?
Well, at first she won't comment on having had an affair or not. She says, why does it matter? Goes into it a little bit, and then as Columbo goes to leave, she confirms that if there was anything, it ended months ago and she never saw him again.
Yeah, it's a very odd thing to do. This guy's been murdered.
Yeah.
You're innocent.
Yeah.
As soon as you start lying about it, and it's a restaurant, you had an argument.
And there was no reason to lie. She doesn't benefit in any way.
So you must know that you're getting caught, and as soon as you get caught lying, you draw suspicion.
Absolutely. There's a weird moment here.
Yeah. She also states that she was home alone the previous evening.
Another lie.
Yeah.
Not only a lie, but a lie that undermines the perfectly good alibi that she had.
Yeah, she had a fantastic alibi. Yeah, but she's lying about having an alibi.
I don't understand.
So what is the weird moment?
Well, Columbo leaves and the press hound him a little bit, and then Cooper and Justin are there. Why are they there?
Who knows? That's not the weird thing. The weird thing is that Columbo comes out and immediately gives privileged personal information to these students.
Or to the students.
Yeah, to a couple of kids.
But then Columbo knows that they did it.
He can't know right now. He might
pretty
suspect that, but he tells them exactly what June Clark has just said. He confides in them in a murder investigation.
He's done this many times in the past.
Cooper tries to play the innocent type, whilst Justin suggests that Clark may not be telling him the truth, so he's correct in that sense. He says that he can take Columbo to the place where Clark and Rusk used to meet, and Columbo accepts this offer.
Well, whatever he offered, Columbo would accept it, because Columbo likes to see what these folk he suspects are up to.
Yeah, I mean, how do these two guys know where these people met up and things like
garbage.
that? It is. Whilst we're here, let's quickly mention or discuss the two actors who played Justin and Cooper.
Okay.
So Stephen Caffery played Justin Rowe. He was born in 1959, and he is known for Odyssey, Tour of Duty, Seinfeld, Murders, She Wrote, LA Law, and All My Children. Character actor.
Still working?
Yes, still working, but never really hit the heights. Didn't I think Tour of Duty was his most impactful on-screen presence. Gary Hirschberger played Cooper Redman, born in 1964. He has been in Sneakers, Murder, She Wrote, 6 Feet Under, Twin Peaks, Knight Rider, and The West Wing.
But higher profile then.
I think so, yeah.
Now, was it the guy that played Justin? Did I read his most recent role was playing a character called David Tennant?
Yes.
Now, is that the actor David Tennant, or is it just
No.
a coincidentally named character?
I think so.
That's unusual.
Yeah.
David Tennant would have been a good Columbo villain.
You think?
He's a really good villain in Jessica Jones.
Right, I'm not going there.
Okay.
So Columbo follows in his car as they lead him to this restaurant, this rendezvous point. And in their truck, they're laughing about him, aren't they? They're trying to belittle him, demean him.
It's a bit mean.
Oh, they're very mean.
Boys will be boys.
When they arrive at the restaurant, they actually have a laugh and a joke with him in front of him. And he tries to...
Yeah, well, they talk about his car being valuable, and he says it is that folk make offers, so I don't know if he's joking there.
Yeah, maybe.
You don't know. But then they say, what about your suit?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, boys. Boys, boys, boys.
Inside the restaurant, the barman confirms that Rusk and Clark were in last week and she left after the fight.
Well, that's convenient.
Outside, Justin asks about Clark's alibi and tries to implicate her. And again, Cooper pretends to defend her, so they're playing sort of good cop, bad cop here, aren't they?
They're nowhere near as smart as they think. And then Justin just embarrasses himself.
How?
He asks to be kept informed of the investigation.
What?
And Columbo's like, oh, sure, we're in this together. And they buy it.
Yeah. Columbo goes back in to make a call.
Well, ostensibly to make a call.
Yeah, and he looks out the window and he sees these fools laughing and joking and taking the mickey out of him.
Yeah, idiots.
Yeah, wait until you're back in the car and you're out of sight.
Or don't do it. Be adults.
Well, they won't be adults because they're childish, but don't do it right when he's right outside. There are windows in these places.
The call he makes, it seemed to me, was just a sort of a fake call so he could look at the boys, but he does use the information.
Actually, in fairness, Justin does a great little impersonation of Columbo, which I thought was a credit to Peter Falk.
Allowing it in
because it was a physical, they made fun of him. He actually, if you watch, he squints his eye. So Peter Falk can obviously take a little bit of a joke at his own expense.
I didn't know until it was on the telly.
I don't think that Falk is taken advantage of in any way by these guys. He's the boss.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think his name's on the credits as executive producer, so
It
I don't
is.
think he gets anything by him.
So what do we hear on the phone?
He's calling Lieutenant Malloy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if that's one that we met or not, but in any event, Malloy is confirming there were no airline tickets in the briefcase.
Yes, none at all.
Which Columbo knew.
Mm-hmm. 2 quick points here. One, I think it's this scene. The barman was played, I think, by Guy Stockwell.
So he related to Dean Stockwell?
Yep. His brother died in 2002, aged 67. This was his final ever appearance in front of the camera.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I thought was quite funny, did you note there was a woman in a bikini sunbathing at the front door?
Was there?
Yeah.
It's a bit random.
Very random. It's the front door of a bar, restaurant. She's got a deck chair out.
Here, this is one thing that occurred to me. In all these episodes of Columbo, over 50, he's never been to the same bar twice.
Nope.
They're all killings in the local area, in the local Los Angeles area. I know it's a fairly big city, but he's never been to the same bar twice.
I think he's been to the same chili stop a few times.
Yeah, but these crimes they all hang out in different bars. It just seems to me, odds must be that 2 of them will go to one of the same bar.
No, I disagree with you, Iain. I think that even in Glasgow, which is a far smaller city, look at the number of bars around here. There's thousands.
Yeah, but some of them will have no criminals, and others will have multiple criminals.
Yeah, but that is a case. It has to be a homicide, not just yeah. I think there's so many bars and restaurants in Los Angeles that you wouldn't expect.
It certainly is creative from the production side of things that they always find somewhere new. I mean, they reuse some sets, but the bars always seem to be new.
Sure. From the Valley restaurant, Columbo heads over to Rusk's home.
One of my favourite moments in the episode occurs in this scene.
Okay, describe.
Mrs. Rusk refers to her husband by his initials.
Yeah.
D.E. I spoke to him 10 days ago, he said.
I will mention someone who known by their initials later in the episode. Okay.
B.A. Baracus.
Could be.
Oh.
So Columbo speaks to Rusk's wife, who tells him that she knew all about the affair, that Clark would not let Rusk end it, but that he had now told her and it was over for good.
That is such a lame excuse. Oh, she won't let me end it. She makes me keep going out for dinner and back to her place.
And sleeping with her overnight. Yes, I really
didn't want. I was thinking of you.
Oh, okay then.
I really love you. You're the one that I love.
She informs Columbo that on the night Rusk died, and this is a big piece of information here, a big clue he gets. On the night that Rusk died, she was with June Clark in her home talking, so they were trying to resolve this. Will you stop forcing my husband to sleep with you? Okay, I'll try.
Columbo throws in a question here about the airline tickets.
One more thing. What does he ask her?
He says, Rusk had airline tickets to Phoenix, Arizona. Where was he going? Why was he going? She's no idea.
Never heard of it.
No.
He goes to Clark's house next.
Just ask that question. And I think he almost presents it as just one more thing, even though he's not been there for some time.
And she gives him the same answer. Never heard of this trip to Phoenix.
There's a party on at the frat house.
Mm-hmm. Columbo watches from a car as guys enter this party wearing massively obnoxious shorts and tux combo.
Yeah, it's top half tux, bottom half shorts.
Yeah, dreadful.
It's the kind of thing they probably would do.
Oh, I can imagine these frat boys. Nonsense.
Would you have been a frat boy at an American university?
Yeah, probably.
I wouldn't. I'd have been in my house, quietly, using the internet, probably.
I'd like to think myself a bit of a Michael J. Fox in Teen Wolf.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm more like, have you seen Monsters University?
No.
Well, if I was in a frat house, I'd be in the one that Sully and Mike joined.
Yeah. No, in fact, I'm reworking it, yeah. I'd be Styles from Teen Wolf.
Okay, I've not seen Teen Wolf, I don't know.
You've not seen Teen Wolf?
No.
You've got an education I'm going to have to put you through. You have to go to Fremont College, movie studies.
I saw the Back to the Futures. They've got Michael J. Fox, and I liked him in Spin City.
Yeah, that was very good.
I loved that show.
Mm-hmm.
Until Charlie Sheen came in and ruined it.
Did he?
Well, it just wasn't quite as good.
Okay. So we're at this frat house party. Columbo enters and they go into the kitchen and he asks the guys about this ticket. This time he is given a different answer.
Well, no, initially he's given the same answer. Like, no, we've no idea, no. And then, don't you remember, Coop? Don't you remember? Was it an FBI guy in Phoenix? Yes, it was Phoenix. What I've written down is they suck at this.
They're terrible liars. What type of person forgets the mention of a mafia and FBI story?
It doesn't make any sense. And Columbo's just toying with them at this stage. But they just think Columbo's an idiot and they can give him any old garbage and he'll buy it.
Yeah. Justin suggests to Columbo that he meet with his father. He might have heard something that could help, and Columbo is quite happy to have this meeting.
Yeah, Justin's father's a criminal attorney and legal counsel to the university.
Yeah. So we head over to the Rowe home that evening.
We row over.
We do. And Mrs. Rowe discusses Columbo's ineptitude with Justin. She calls him a rumpled little dumbbell before a really inappropriate moment.
Which was that?
So he's helping his mother get dressed and he's standing behind her and he kisses her on the neck.
That is weird.
Yeah, it's not a son-mother embrace. If you kiss your mother perhaps on the cheek,
maybe. The
neck is a far more seductive and creepy place to be kissing someone. Well, not someone, your mother. It's nice if it's your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, but I would never in my life stand behind my mother and then kiss her neck.
No, I wouldn't do it.
I have never done. I have no intention ever of doing so.
I don't think it would be appreciated if I did that.
It wouldn't.
No.
We'll move on.
Quickly. Yeah, Justin phones Cooper, who's going to head over and enjoy watching what goes on when Columbo is outclassed by Mr. Rowe.
Yeah. Columbo arrives at this massive house. during the party and is shown up or through to meet with Mr. Rowe.
He seems familiar to me.
He does.
It's almost as if I've seen him kill 3 men.
No, not 3 men.
Okay, a woman and 2 men.
Yeah. So who is it?
It's Robert Culp.
It is. Great to see him back, isn't it?
It's fantastic, and he looks just as young as in his previous appearance.
Oh, you old smoothie. 17 years, I think, the difference. So we don't need to talk about Robert Culp too much. This is his last, unfortunately, of 4 Columbo appearances. 17 years, as I mentioned, since that final appearance, or the third appearance, and his first was...
Death Lends a Hand.
Correct. Back in 71.
1.
I've often wondered, you pick up the phone to Robert Culp and you say, Rab, Peter Falk here, Pete here, fancy doing another Columbo with me? Yeah, sure, no problem. Only wanted to play the murderer's father. Bit odd.
Just get him to be a killer.
Yeah, if he's agreed to come back on the show, come on, Rab, be the killer.
Unless he was doing something else and he only had time to do a couple of scenes.
That could be it. But really, they obviously have a relationship here. This is the 4th appearance. They must be friends. If that was the case, say, Robbie boy, when can you make it? When are you free? We'll give you. We'll postpone this episode until you can make it. If you're willing to come back, I'd love to have seen him back as a killer.
Yep.
Anyway, I'll take him in whatever guise we get him.
He's good in this.
He is very good. So Rowe is very dismissive of Columbo's detective work, and like the rest of the family, he looks down his nose at Columbo.
Yeah, he lambasts him for not reading the books that he's found about, or the books that Rusk had written.
Mm-hmm.
One of which hasn't even been published.
Yeah. Columbo tells Rowe that it was Justin who wanted Columbo to speak to him about Rusk's books, and Rowe is surprised that he didn't think of doing it himself. He then instructs Columbo on what to do and who to look for.
Yeah, meanwhile Justin and Cooper are listening in through some kind of device in the lampshade that's quite obvious if you're looking for it, and amusingly here Mr. Rowe lambast them as well.
Yeah, at first they're delighted about the ragdolling that Columbo's getting.
Yeah.
But the attention turns, or the discussion turns to them, and they are both, as you say, they're both torn to pieces.
Yep, all Cooper's good for is getting girls pregnant.
Yeah. They laugh, or he laughs at his tennis ability, or lack of.
He's a B player.
Mm.
He thinks he's John McEnroe.
Yep.
It's a good contemporary reference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, near the end of McEnroe's career, I would imagine.
Yeah. 1990, yes, definitely.
It was, because 92 he got to the semis of Wimbledon when Agassi won it, but he never did much after that, I don't think.
Columbo leaves with a one more thing. Where did Mr. Rowe have dinner on Thursday night?
San Francisco.
Yes.
Completely different city.
Yep. It wasn't in the restaurant where he is meant to have been waiting for Rusk.
I think that's the only piece of information that Columbo was interested from that entire conversation.
I agree. Then we have a funny little scene where the valet brings Columbo his car without Columbo asking for it, and Columbo's surprised that he knew which car was his.
Yeah. And the valet thought it was obvious.
Yeah, well, said it was a lucky guess.
Yeah.
So we head back down to the parking garage.
Yeah. Columbo's still figuring stuff out here. He's doing a bit of detecting.
Yes, he's working through the different positions, the scenarios.
You would have thought they would have had a ballistics team to do that, work out the angle of the bullet and where it came from.
Yeah, I think Columbo just likes to try and think through things in his own mind.
Yeah.
Joe arrives.
Yeah, this is where Columbo finds out it was Justin who saved the tape.
Yes.
Critical information.
Yeah, but I mean, it is very chancy, this whole thing about, it's not how CCTV works. I've mentioned this before. It's just
it doesn't make sense. Yeah, 3 separate tapes, you have to manually record them all.
Just the last hour. No way.
Not having it.
Where do we go next?
Columbo's been summoned to the Dean's office. I think he's getting expelled.
He is surprised to find Mr. Rowe and Justin waiting with big news.
New information.
Yes. He hands Columbo a file relating to Joe's brother Dominic, and he then berates Columbo again for his lack of ingenuity and insight.
Isn't this the second time that you and I have met? It is, isn't it?
It is, sir, yes.
And what did I tell you the first time we met?
That there have been actual threats made on Professor Rusk's life.
Mm-hmm. And you now have in your hand the record of a hired killer who was hanging around that garage visiting with his brother, the security guard. Son, you did say that's the first time you saw Dominic Doyle visiting with his brother at the school.
Yes, sir.
I saw them together, and that's when Joe told me that Dom had just got out of prison and that he was looking for a job.
Where was Dominic Doyle on the night? Was he in the area? Was he out of town? Does he have an alibi? Or is he, in fact, the trigger man? These are the questions that we have to have answered.
Lieutenant Chief Whalen was good enough to messenger us that copy of Doyle's file. You'll find his current address in there, I believe.
Well, there's not much I can say. When you're wrong, and when you're right, you're right. I'm going to read this file. I'll read it immediately, and, I'll probably be making contact with Doyle sometime tonight.
I did like that. When you're wrong, referencing them, but they think he's referencing himself. When you're right, you're right, vice versa.
Smart. Columbo acts repentant and says that he will speak to Dom before he heads off.
Yeah, Justin chips in right at the end of the scene, saying he'd seen Joe and Dominic together.
Yes. Columbo heads over to Dominic's room in his apartment. Again, another, what's like a one-room apartment, doesn't it?
Yeah, and there's an interesting sort of exchange between them, isn't there?
There is. Describe it.
Well, it's really just Dominic who's kind of downtrodden almost by his interactions with the law in the past. He's almost just fed up. He doesn't know anything about this case. He doesn't have any information to help.
He doesn't seem worried. He's given up on life, really, hasn't he? He's a drunk and he's not going to be... I suppose he thinks, I might actually get fingered for this year. I might have to go through this again. But,
what difference does it make?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, on the television...
this is the
case is blown even further open.
Why?
On the TV, there's a new angle of the killing. It's not the CCTV footage. The TV news stations recovered this footage. And Columbo has no idea where it's come from.
And neither do the guys who are also watching
Well,
this.
yeah, we flip over to their dorm room, and they are flabbergasted.
Yeah, they're panicking.
Very much so.
Where did this TV station get this tape from?
That's it.
Before we leave this scene, Dominic Doyle was played by William Lucking. He was born in 1941. He has appeared recently in 52 episodes of Sons of Anarchy. He has been in Murder, She Wrote, Outlaws, The A-Team, Mission Impossible and Star Trek Enterprise. He founded the Santa Paula Theatre Centre with Dana Elkar.
That's an interesting name.
Yes, he is best known to many for his role in MacGyver, but we have met him. He was one of the wine connoisseurs in
the Old
Port. Yes,
there you go. Phyllis Diefendorfer.
Yes,
that's the critical takeaway here from this scene.
Yeah, it's a great name. She is a TV presenter, a news presenter, news anchor,
or some kind of producer. Columbo's headed over to the TV studio to investigate where the footage came from,
and they have some incredible news for Columbo. They bought the recording from a guy called Muldoon. And how did he come into possession of this recording?
Well, he was watching something else, or recording something else, on a sort of home satellite kit, as it were, some kind of unique personal programming. And in the middle of the program, he's got this footage of a murder. So obviously the frequency it was being broadcast on from the truck to the lecture theatre was also picked up by this satellite.
Yes, but that's news to Columbo. So he now knows this was being broadcast. The murderer or someone was broadcasting the killing.
Yep.
Outside in the hallway of the TV station, he speaks to an engineer.
Yeah, it's the conversation we heard at the top of the show about the small cameras in hospitals.
Yeah.
He's looking at an IndyCar picture. He wants to know how do they film these shots, and it's explained to him that they've got very small cameras that you can't even see.
It's again, this is something we've met a few times in the new Columbo, where Columbo seems to be amazed at technology. In 1990, it's not that incredible. Everyone knew about small cameras back then. It wasn't something.
You thought a man of Columbo's age would have had regular testing, and
you should do. Only healthy guys, remember.
That's a bit of advice for any of our listeners in the 60 to 90 age bracket.
Fortunately, we haven't had the need as yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun.
Back to the frat house.
Columbo shows up.
Yes, he tells the guys that Dominic has no alibi, but he's not quite ready to bring him in yet.
Not yet.
He then mentions the video on the news show, and Justin suggests that it must have been a copy, a bootleg of the CCTV tape.
Yeah. Columbo, when he arrived, said that he'd left the number for the room with his colleagues in case they needed him, and a call comes in.
Before that, Columbo says, in response to the bootleg theory, that no, couldn't have been. It was from a different angle. different camera.
Yes, we talked about this. Yes, it's a different angle.
Yep.
And then this call comes in, providing duff information. It's one of those ways that you used to use to find a leak in a department. That you give everyone a different piece of information and find out which of those pieces is leaked. So he tells them, or he lets them overhear him talking to Malloy on the phone about a car that Dominic bought when he was paroled from prison.
Yes, this has been most famously used in Columbo in the Friend Indeed episode.
Yes. He ends his call, asks the boys to think a bit about this new tape, what might have happened, and they'll be in touch. And he disappears.
We quickly head back to the Rowe household, and it's a dinner setting.
Yep, they're around the table, and Mr. Rowe is annoyed at Columbo's work so far.
Just then, the phone rings. It's Cooper for Justin.
He's found Doyle's car at a bar.
They call the police.
They do.
They're getting far too involved in this, aren't they? At every step of the way, they're there, on the scene. It's...
What they must have done here is found this car that the police planted at the bar where Doyle drinks, planted the gun in the car, and then phoned the police.
Yes, of
That's
course.
essentially what's happened here.
Yeah. It's crazy to be getting that involved and so coincidentally.
Anyway, the police all show up at the bar and Doyle is dragged away.
Yeah, it's lots of them. You know, it's not Columbo.
Columbo is there.
Yeah, he is there, but it's the Blues and Twos. They all pile in, don't they?
The whole team, Columbo's squad.
I'm assuming that Dominic Doyle has been informed of the situation and told, listen, play along here.
Maybe not. Yeah, I suppose they don't want him yelling, that's not my car or anything.
Yeah. As Dominic is led away, Columbo tells the guys and Mr. Rowe, who is also there on the scene, that the gun is going straight to ballistics.
Absolutely.
We're back to the garage.
The next day, I presume.
The guys arrive in the truck and they cold-heartedly wish Joe luck with his brother as they enter.
That's a bit mean.
Yeah. And they're surprised to find Rusk's car there. It's all covered up. And Columbo's waiting to ask them to park their own truck in exactly the same spot as it was on the night of the murder.
Yeah, he's going to recreate the murder, and he's teaching the class again that evening, so we move up to the lecture theatre.
Yep, Columbo whistles this old man for a brief second.
Very briefly. And he gets to the class and explains to the class that he's recreating the murder, and that's their lesson for the evening.
Yes, he asked them all to sit in exactly the same seats that they did that evening.
He explains that the tape turned the case around and led him to the murderer. And his demonstration is going to show how it fits in.
Yeah, he then proceeds to describe and carry out the recreation.
Yeah, one of their classmates is in the garage.
Yes. What happens?
He has a doofer thing in his hand, a
remote
door locking device. And when Columbo asks him to, he presses the button which fires the gun in the classroom.
They head back down to the garage, the group of them.
Yep, Sachs is there.
And Columbo continues the reenactment with a dummy.
Yep.
And with the aid of a couple of flashbacks that we see, he gets Justin, I think, to press the remote control doofer, and a gun goes off. The shot is fired at the dummy.
And the car's unlocked at the same time.
Yep. Columbo then discusses the shell that they found on the street. So he mentions he talks about how that was found up there, and he was wondering how it got there in the first place.
Yep. It falls through the engine eventually.
Now, the guys continue to try and bluff things out by pretending to assume in amazement that Dominic Doyle carried out such a devious scheme, and they inquire if Doyle has been arrested as yet.
Yeah, Columbo says, no. Nothing to arrest him for.
No cause whatsoever. Just as Dominic's car arrives in the garage along with the ballistics report. And initially it sounds bad for Dominic, as the ballistics reports confirm that it was the same gun.
Murder weapon, Joe's gun.
Yep. However, Columbo very quickly turns the tables on them.
Well, the gun that was found in this car is registered to Joe Doyle, brother to suspect Dominic Doyle. It's a .45 auto, has ejector marks on the cartridge that check out, so it is definitely the murder weapon.
That's it, right? I mean, what else do you need? You've got the murder weapon, and you found it in Dominic Doyle's car.
Well, you're half right, Justin. It is a murder weapon, but it is not Dominic Doyle's car. It's my wife's. And this is my wife's niece, Annette. She's 14. That's our dog. And that was taken in Griffith Park. The description of the car, the license number, and the name of the bar. Nobody had that information except you two. And after I gave it to you, nobody could have planted that gun but you two. Book 'em. Suspicion of murder.
Nice wee cameo from Dog.
Where?
In the photo.
Ah, yes. You have an issue, or you think there's something missing from the gotcha at the end, don't you?
Definitely. There's a lack of payoff against both Justin and his father, who have been disparaging to Columbo throughout the episode, and we don't get their comeuppance.
Yeah.
We don't get to see them shown that Columbo's smarter than they are, so it's a bit disappointing for me in that regard.
I agree, that would have been nice to see the look on Mr. Rowe's face, and the look on Justin's face as he saw the look on Mr. Rowe's face.
Absolutely. That would have been... I mean, it almost was begging for that. They set it all up.
Mm-hmm.
They've done all the hard work.
Yeah.
You just need that payoff. You need to find a gotcha that has Mr. Rowe there.
Maybe Colt was so busy that he couldn't finish it.
Not even one more scene.
No. But even at this late stage, there is still some arrogance, isn't there, between the two of them? They get led off, but especially Justin.
I mean, it's always been especially Justin. I made this point to you before we recorded. Cooper is your main man in the opening scene, and from there on, Justin's the lead.
Yeah, he shouts at Columbo that he just got lucky, which to an extent is the case, but he is confident that his father will still get him off.
His father doesn't like to see him fail. But then, surely he could have just used that against Rusk if that was the case. Initially, instead of killing him.
Yeah, that's a good point. There we have it.
Yeah, it's a dedication at the end of the episode to a John Epstein.
Yeah, producer.
Must have died in between that and the previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
We assume.
We do.
And Alan Levy, who directed, I think, the previous one, is noted as a producer in this one. I kind of picked that up, so that was interesting to see he's still part of the team.
Sure. An enjoyable episode. Very chancy. We haven't mentioned, I think, the biggest chancy element of it. There is no way that they could predict that gun could... Firstly, it's a handgun at a fair distance.
There's no practice shot, so the circle on their screen
that
is meant to line up the shot.
Yep,
how can they possibly know that's going to work?
You need to sight in a gun. You know, even if you can line it up correctly, guns aren't 100% accurate, so you have to sight it in. There's no chance that you can guarantee that's killing him. If you don't kill him, if you miss or you injure him, game's up. You're caught. It's a ridiculous... It's fun, but in reality, it's one of the most inconceivable.
Yeah. The other thing was there's no paperwork at all about them stealing the exam paper. He was going to report them to the dean just on his word. That seems unlikely.
There we go. That's another one where, you would have thought that he would have talked to someone.
And they can't assume that he hadn't as well.
Mm-hmm.
So once that came out, they were done for.
Total ego and arrogance here. They are nowhere. They're pretty stupid, actually.
I think it's actually good writing, because I think you would find college students like that, people who think they're smarter than everybody else because they have a rich father and they're on the course that they think they deserve to be on and they don't have to work hard.
Definitely. I think it's not a thoroughly enjoyable episode. There are weaknesses, there are massive plot holes. However, it's an episode that I have and can watch over and over again.
Happy with this one, absolutely. Certainly compared to last week's Abomination.
Yes, I agree. Production information, Ian.
Okay.
9th of December 1990 at the 89-minute length.
So you're still in the same year that the previous run came to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole of season 9 was in 1990.
Yep. Director. My favourite director name of all time. E.W. Swackhammer.
You did say we'd get some with initials.
Yep. He died in 1994, aged just 67. He has directed Law & Order, Jake and the Fat Man, Murder, She Wrote, LA Law, Quincy, MacLeod, The Rookies, The Partridge Family, and Bewitched.
That ties you in with Uneasy Lies the Crown.
Dick Sargent.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Bloom was the writer. This is his second of 3, the first being Agenda for Murder.
So he's getting some credit because we liked that one as well.
Mm-hmm. Sarah. We didn't mention her in the episode, but she was the female student.
In the class, okay.
Yeah. She was played by Elizabeth Swackhammer.
Was she also directing?
No, she wasn't directing. I'm wondering, I mean, it could just be a massive coincidence that there were two Swackhamers in this episode. Or it could be a massive coincidence that the director's daughter was also the best placed person, the best actress to take that role. I'm sure that there was no charge of nepotism to be.
Actually, that reminds me, I was watching an interview with Ron Howard last week before, where he talked about casting his father and his mother, in fact, in different parts and making them audition to get the parts.
Although he does always, his brother has done numerous things and lived off his other brother's reputation, I think.
So you suggest, but that may not be true.
May not be. Sax, he was the guy student.
Sort of geeky one who was sent down to the garage to do the experiment, yeah.
Played by Carol Weidergott, born in 1969. He has been in 252 episodes of The Simpsons, playing additional voices.
Alright, okay.
So none of the main characters, but he plays a lot of politicians. And he was in that from 1998 to 2010. He has also been in NYPD Blue and Star Trek Enterprise and Star Trek Voyager.
Ah, that's quite good.
Episode review.
Okay, let's go for it.
Motive.
Self-interest, avoid getting expelled from college.
Pretty much, yeah. Clues. I'll run through them, quite a few here. The cholesterol pill, the briefcase being left, the general disdain from the guys towards Columbo, Rusk's wife's alibi, the guys lying about the FBI meeting, where Mr. Rowe dined that evening, Justin being the person who saved the tape, the tiny cameras, and the killing broadcast. I think that's about it.
Well, what about the location of the shooter being where the truck was?
Yeah.
And the Rowe name being left at the restaurant.
Good point.
And then obviously finding out that was Justin's name in the bar.
Correct. The gotcha. The planted gun.
I liked it. The fake car as well. Yeah, it was good.
Pretty solid. Next week.
Well, hang on, what about the alibi?
Oh, alibi. I forgot this week.
They were in the class. It was a great alibi. They were with Columbo.
Yeah. If you compare that to last week's Murder in Malibu alibi.
Yeah.
Which was dreadful. Wasn't thought out at all.
Wasn't much of an
alibi. It wasn't an alibi at all, yeah. It was just, I was over there. Yes, but you could drive there, couldn't you? Yeah. Well, that's not an alibi.
Yeah. Columbo didn't put any work into breaking down their alibi in this one because he worked out the method of killing.
Yeah.
And that solved it for him. So it wasn't really addressed in the episode, but it was a good alibi, I think.
Well, I mean, I have mentioned this. This takes us back to the deviousness of the killer trying to fake things to make it look like a watertight alibi.
Their problem was that they were smart, but they weren't as smart as they thought.
The downfall of many a Columbo killer.
Absolutely. Next week.
Caution. Murder can be hazardous to your health.
Well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Is that the longest title?
Bye-bye, Sky High.
Oh, a bit of a challenge, won't it?
Yeah, let's count the letters some other time.
I won't be able to put much in the tweet about that one.
No.
Anyway, looking forward to that.
Yes.
We mentioned iTunes and stuff at the top, but just a wee reminder to join us and chat about the episode on ColumboPodcast.com, review us and remember questions for our potential future Q&A episode. And we'll see you next week.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Columbo Podcast from Heard Yet Media.